This is WBNY 91.3. We're out here on Elmwood Avenue today for our second episode of Let's Talk Buffalo. Today's episode will focus on the mayoral election. Okay, we're here at Cafe Aroma right off of Elmwood, and we are about to interview... What's your first name?
Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay. I'm Joanna. So, will you be voting in the upcoming election for Buffalo Mayor?
I will if I can find some time to learn about the candidates beforehand. I've seen some ads and stuff saying negative things from one candidate about another, but I don't usually buy into those too much, and so that's really my only level of familiarity.
We are talking about the upcoming mayoral election, and are you going to vote in it?
Yes.
And who is your choice?
India. I just can't wait to see the change, if she does get elected, see what she changes in Buffalo and stuff.
Who will you be voting for and why?
Byron Brown, because he's the better person.
Could you expand on that a little bit?
He's got lots of experience.
I'm going to be voting for India Walton. Yeah.
I think she's far too young. I'm not bragging that I'm a college graduate. I went to college, but my consensus of hers is she's just too young.
I've met her personally when she was doing a lot of community work in the Fruit Belt, and yeah, everything that she stands for. She's young, she's vibrant, she's fresh.
You definitely have to vote. Right? I'm a retired Marine. Right? After 22 years in the Marines and being in combat, I moved back to Buffalo. I've only been back 5 years, but since I've been back, you notice all the changes, abandoned buildings, just the trash, just the things that's going on around in the neighborhoods, the crime. Byron Brown, I won't say he hasn't been a bad mayor, but over the past few years, and really over the past 10 years or so, I've just seen just the decline. It's like he doesn't care anymore. And if she's going to promote a little change, let's give her a chance.
My name is Brittany Whalen, and we're here on WBNY 91.3, Buffalo State's student-run radio station.
Hi, my name is Kate Malalay, and I am a senior at Buffalo State College, majoring in English and journalism. I'm also the founder of the blog typeawaykate.blogspot.com, and I'm the news editor for the Buffalo State Record, a student-run news outlet.
It's Sunday, October 17th, and we're here at mayoral candidate India Walton's campaign office on Ellicott Street. And first off, I just wanted to ask, how are you?
I am well. I am excited to be talking to you today, and thank you so much for coming by.
Of course, I'm so excited. So I'm curious, I have a couple of questions. Your number one priority is safe neighborhoods. Tell me about your mobile crisis team initiative.
Sure. So mobile crisis teams are civilians who are trained in mental health response, and that is going to be our first line of defense rather than calling armed officers who we know have a tendency to escalate when a person is decompensating and experiencing a mental health crisis. We want people who are going to be able to de-escalate and diffuse those situations before they turn violent or dangerous.
So when I was in school, I remember seeing and recognizing the police officers rather than knowing the school counselors. Tell me about your plans to add more mental health counselors to the Buffalo City School District.
Yeah, so while the mayor's office doesn't have explicit purview over the schools, the city can do things like support organizations like Say Yes, who currently have mental health counselors in the schools, and just making sure that mental health services are accessible not only to students, but also to their parents and family members. Over the course of the last year, we've experienced a lot of trauma as a community, not to mention a lot of the negative impacts from concentrated poverty and disadvantage. And I just want to be a really proactive champion for allowing people the space and the grace to be able to talk about how those things have impacts on our mental and physical health.
I was really inspired when I was reading about your policy goals involving safety from gender violence and sexual assault. All too often, people are stuck in reoccurring violent situations with their partner because they don't have the resources to get them and their children out of that situation. What are your plans to streamline resources for people in need?
I think that there is an important role as a survivor that I'm going to play as the first woman to be mayor of the city of Buffalo, and that number one is having these conversations publicly and letting folks know that it's okay to ask for help and that help is available. I am so excited to be coming into this position at a time where our county legislature has April Baskin at the helm, and together we're going to make sure that we're going to work with the Department of Social Services to make sure that appropriate and timely resources are available for people who are needing help to rebuild their lives after intimate partner violence and sexual assault. And that includes, folks of all gender identities and sexualities as well. We know that intimate partner violence, there's no one group of people that suffer.
Definitely. No, I totally agree with that. It can be anyone who's dealing with violence in any type of situation. I want to jump into something a little bit different. According to 2021 reports, there has been an uptick in gun violence in Buffalo. What is your response in adequately addressing the rise in gun violence?
That's a great question. Actually, before you got here, we were just planning for a visit from some friends of ours from downstate called Life Camp. Life Camp is a program that was founded by a woman named Erica Ford, and it teaches a peaceful lifestyle, right? A lot of our response to gun violence is just that. It is a response. And we have not done enough to proactively prevent folks from wanting to commit harm against one another in the first place. So I'm excited that Life Camp is going to be here on Tuesday with their Peace Bus. And I'm excited for folks to be able to experience that firsthand, because those are the types of initiatives that we want to see in a Walton administration. How we lead with love and care and set a culture that says that violence against one another is unacceptable. And it starts there, but there are also very practical ways that we reduce violent crime. Provide people with a decent living wage job. Reduce opportunities by improving the built environment, making sure that our streets are well lit, making sure that the cameras that do exist for surveillance are actually operational, and make sure that we're establishing trusting relationships between our police and community members so people feel empowered to speak up when they need to.
So this is a question I really want to ask. All too often, we hear stories about citizens not being able to afford healthcare or prescriptions under our for-profit healthcare system. As a nurse, you've probably seen and heard a lot more about this issue than anyone else I know personally. Within your powers as mayor, what will you do on a local level to advocate for the health and well-being of Buffalonians?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes scary to think of the limitations, the actual limitations of the mayor of Buffalo, but there are few people who have the potential to be more influential. So I have always been a strong advocate for the passage of the New York Health Act. I'm going to continue to advocate strongly and use my influence to work with our state legislators to be able to move that forward, and also at the federal level, continue to advocate for Medicare for all. I think it's vitally important. I'm a person who believes that healthcare is a human right, and to know that there are folks who are suffering because someone needs to maintain their bottom line is just disturbing to me.
Okay, so moving into our next question, you identify as a democratic socialist, but you say Mayor Byron Brown uses that term against you. Can you define democratic socialism in your words and what it means to you?
Sure. First, let's start by saying the first word is Democrat. I'm a democratic socialist. I've been a Democrat my entire life. But I think AOC said it best. All Democrats are not created equal. And knowing that this city has been under Democratic leadership for this long, and we still see the poverty that we see, especially childhood poverty, I needed a way to communicate with people that I am not just going to be another Democrat who is preferring wealthy corporations and developers over everyday working class people. So being a democratic socialist to me means that I am going to lead and govern for and by the people, that I am a servant, and that is the role, in my opinion, of government. And I look forward to deep democracy and co-governance with the residents of the city of Buffalo.
As someone who really cares about Medicare for all, it is my number one policy goal as a concerned citizen. You are a nurse and political activist. Do you have any ideas of how Buffalonians can act on the local level to push for an expansive policy goal like that?
If I have learned anything over this last year, is that we matter a lot, and our voices matter, and a lot of what we see out of our elected officials, sometimes their failure to act is a result of not feeling enough public pressure. And, you know, for as much as we love a good protest, those phone calls to your legislators, those letters, those emails, they matter. And when we create the political will that means inaction is unacceptable, then we see changes begin to be made. And, you know, I also just want to encourage people, you know, if we want to see policies that we believe in pushed forward, run for office. If your legislator is not voting in a way that you feel like is in your best interest, run.
I might have to. I probably won't. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I had to ask that question because I feel like pushing it upwards, like towards the presidency, to get them to actually pass something so expansive across the country has somewhat become impossible. And so I guess that question kind of came from a place of like, it's going to have to come from a place at a lower level all the way up to like the state level.
And the thing that's interesting to me about electoral politics, right, as opposed to organizing and activism, is that the goal is to win an election. And a lot of us feel like once our candidate has won, our job is done. But that's when the real work begins. We have to hold folks accountable to deliver on their promises if we're ever going to see anything change.
Totally. I feel that. So this actually kind of leads into the next question. I know myself and many others have felt discouraged to reach out to their local representatives because they feel incredibly inaccessible. As mayor, what are your plans to make yourself accessible to the public?
I'm gonna be around. You know, I still very much do all of the normal things that I would. You know, when folks reach out to the Walton administration, someone's gonna show up. And not only that, but we are going to take our Department of Citizen Engagement and turn it outward. We're not going to wait for people to call and complain. We're going to go out and into the community, visit Black clubs and neighborhood associations, and canvass and ask folks what their concerns are right now today. Even on doors, our campaign is not only about encouraging people to vote for me, but asking what are the issues that matter most to you, so that we have that information moving forward and really are able to prioritize how we care for the community once we assume office in January.
I know that you decided to run like a while back, but what was the initial like reason? Did you have like one, was it like a thing that you just kind of decided bit by bit, or what did you just wake up one morning and said like, I just gotta run, or how did it happen? You know,
over the last half decade, I've been involved with several advocacy groups trying to, you know, move policy through city government, and just feeling a lot of frustration that we have great ideas and weren't able to get things done, right? But I think it all came to a head the summer before last. middle of a pandemic. I was executive director of the land trust, right, working on housing, but having folks in the Fruit Belt neighborhood call me and say, we need food. Or, can you call somebody and help me get my water turned back on? And I'm like, in the middle of a public health crisis, there are people in the city who don't have running water. So it was that sort of failure of leadership. And then also the response after the uprisings, young people in the streets begging our leadership to do something about police misconduct and having those calls go unanswered, and watching our mayor on national television defend the police after they pushed a 75-year-old man down, and having the world watch him bleed on television and no one was held accountable. I said, I have to do something. If I don't do something, I cannot justify continuing to raise my children in this place where poverty is still an issue, where there's lack of housing, lack of opportunity, and lack of leadership. So I talked to my friends who helped co-organize a lot of the protests and said, I think that we're gonna try and turn this protest power into some political power. Let's see what happens. And here we are.
Hi, Ms. Walton.
Hi.
So I just wanted to ask, for the Market Town Hall, how come it was canceled? That between you and Mayor Byron Brown with the Fox 29?
The debate.
Yeah, the debate.
Yeah, so Byron Brown is not on the ballot. I am more than willing to debate, but I don't think that he should get preferential treatment over the other write-in candidates. There are lots of folks who are saying they're writing in. So how is there a debate between he and I when I am the endorsed Democratic nominee? I am the only person who's on the ballot. So how does he get an opportunity to debate me and other people do not? And I think the other reason is that the first debate at the Merriweather Library, he didn't talk about issues. He talked about me. He spoke poorly of me. It was disparaging and disrespectful. And the voters need to know what the plan is for our future. And if we're not talking about that, I'm not going to continue to allow space for the personal attacks.
Thank you.
All right. So my last question. We did a segment on Let's Talk Buffalo a week ago, and we asked folks on Elmwood about the upcoming mayoral race and who they would vote for. Some critics claim you may be too young to be mayor.
I think she's far too young. She's just too young.
What do you have to say to those critics, and do you think being younger gives you an advantage?
I wonder how young people think I am. I'm 39.
You look amazing.
Thanks. So my natural reaction to that is I'm not that young, but I accept that as a compliment, I guess. But also, I've had a very diverse set of life experiences. And when folks say that I'm too young or too inexperienced or I've made too many mistakes, I think that those are all good reasons why I would make a good mayor. I've had some challenges and I've had to be a good problem solver. I've had to work with lots of people to get things accomplished in my personal and professional life. And I think that young folks are the future of this country, of this state, and of this city. And it's time that we stop doing things like we've always done them and do something different. And youth and the vigor and the intellectual class and the arts and culture community are going to be the forefront of leading us into the future of a better Buffalo.
Right on. I totally agree with that. And I've felt kind of discouraged as a younger person occasionally.
We are ordinary folks who are capable of doing extraordinary things, and we can really do extraordinary things when we do them together.
All right. With that being said, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for giving us this interview.
Thank you.
All right. So, hello, this is Elijah Robinson, General Manager at 91.3 WBNY, and you're listening to an interview with Mayor Byron Brown. Mayor Byron Brown, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's great to be on with you. When I was a student at Buffalo State College, I was a radio announcer at WBNY, so it's great to be on with you.
Cool. That's another thing I forgot to mention in this introduction. He's a Buffalo State alum, so that makes this even grander. So first off, let's just talk about your campaign so far this year. So what is your strategy? How do you think it's going? And what do you hope to see out of this?
So campaign is going very well. Everything happens for a reason. Had a loss in the primary. That seems to have been something that has energized voters throughout the city of Buffalo. People have been coming to volunteer for us in record numbers. You see, we're having a volunteer appreciation event tonight at our campaign headquarters, just packed with people from every single section of the city. So things are going well. The support is significant. We've identified thousands of people who say they want to write my name in for the election for mayor, who want to write down Byron Brown. It's easier than ever in New York to run as a write-in candidate. We say it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and voters can write my name in the bottom right corner of the ballot in the box that says write in. All they have to do is fill in the oval and write in or stamp in my name, and it looks like there are thousands and thousands of voters in the city of Buffalo that want to do that.
That leads me to another question, which is going to be a tough one. So that leads me to like your donors. Like Carl Palladino is a very famous example because he's a very well-known businessman around here. You've received funding from Palladino-linked LLCs ahead of voting, $10,000, and as well as developers are among your most high donors with 5 to roughly 8,000 for contributions. And I mean, so how do you explain that?
So Mr. Palladino is not a donor. We made a commitment that we would not request any donations from Mr. Palladino. Companies have donated that Mr. Palladino has no connection to, has made no decision in that donation being made. I'm proud of the fact that we have donations from people living in every section of our city. So we have donations as small as $1 and all the way up to thousands of dollars. People who live in our city, who live in Erie County, who are developing things and creating jobs in our community, business people who are saying that their company is small, medium, or large size. We believe Byron Brown is the best candidate for the future of our community. I'm very proud of that. And while Ms. Walton and her campaign talk about $10,000, she's got over $300,000 of unitemized donations. We don't know where that money has come from. We don't know who that money has come from. And the question that we have been asking Ms. Walton is, what do you have to hide? Why have you not shown the public where that money is coming from? Every donation into the Mayor Byron Brown campaign has been itemized so that the public can see exactly where that money is coming from. More than 85% of my donations come from Western New York. More than 65% of those donations come from people in the city of Buffalo, completely transparent for the public to see.
I see. And to continue on with Mr. Palladino, Carl Palladino is a Republican, right wing. So why would he or his associating companies want to donate to your campaign since you're a Democrat?
Well, again, as I've indicated, I have not asked Mr. Palladino for any donations. But what we're seeing in this general election is there are over 155,000 people eligible to vote. And so people who are Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, independents, unaffiliated voters all have the ability to vote. And what voters are saying in large measure, in large numbers, is that they don't believe Ms. Walton is qualified to be mayor of the city of Buffalo. In fact, just last weekend, the Buffalo News endorsed my candidacy for mayor, and in their endorsement, they said that Ms. Walton is dangerously inexperienced. And if she was to get into the mayor's office, she would take our city back. Another newspaper in our city, the Buffalo Criterion, the oldest black newspaper in Western New York, described Ms. Walton as the most unqualified person to ever run for high office in the city of Buffalo. So I think people of all party affiliations, people in every single section of the city, are seeing in large numbers that Ms. Walton doesn't have the experience, the qualifications to be mayor of the city of Buffalo, and it would be a real danger to cast a vote for her.
And when you say either you or people you've talked to that India Walton will bring us back to, you say that, what do you mean back to what exactly, Mr. Mayor?
That the progress that we're seeing will be reversed. And I said that, the Buffalo News said that in an editorial endorsing my candidacy for mayor. The Buffalo Criterion said that in an editorial endorsing my candidacy for mayor. Ms. Walton has talked about defunding our police, making our city less safe, making all of our neighborhoods, our businesses, our places of worship less safe. Ms. Walton has talked about coming right in and raising taxes in the city of Buffalo, which will cost every homeowner, every business owner more money in taxes. And we know that when businesses and homeowners have to pay more in taxes, then the cost of rent will go up for renters all across the city of Buffalo. And during the course of the campaign, Ms. Walton has talked about different positions that she would take, different policies that she would implement that are not done by the mayor's office in the city of Buffalo. It's things that the state might do or the county might do, proving to people in the community that she does not understand what the office of mayor does and that she is not qualified to lead or run the city of Buffalo.
And piggybacking off of like the development of supporting businesses and homeowners, in a recent debate, you highlighted the importance of strengthening small businesses in the East Side or on the East Side. So what have you done during your tenure to revitalize small businesses on the East Side, and what do you advocate for this campaign on doing?
So every business investment that the city makes has provisions for minority and women-owned business participation, for minority and female worker participation. I have strongly stood up and promoted the concepts of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we want, when businesses are building, when jobs are created, we want that to reflect the diversity of our city. We want businesses, when they hire, to hire in a way that reflects our city's diversity. When things are being built by contractors in our city, we want that to reflect the diversity of our city. I was one of the first mayors in the nation to hire a chief diversity officer to work on issues of diversity, not only in city government, but in the larger community as well, to promote those concepts. And if every business and every government in the state of New York did what the city of Buffalo has done to hire the most diverse workforce in the history of this city, we would have more people of color working in good positions. We'd have more women working in good positions, and we would see the racial wealth gap and the gender pay gap narrowed in this city and in this state and in the nation.
All right. And what would you say to critics who may say that your campaign is sort of splitting the Democratic vote, choosing Democratic Socialist Walton or you Democrat Mayor Brown?
I say that there's no such thing as a Democratic Socialist. Miss Walton is a socialist. She has bad socialist ideas like defunding police, like cutting the size of our police department. That would make neighborhoods less safe, that would make people less safe. She has ideas like raising taxes coming right into office that would cause the cost of living and doing business to go up for every resident of this community. I have been an active Democrat, a lifelong Democrat, contributing to other Democrats, working for other Democrats. That is not Miss Walton's background. So I reject that she's a Democrat. Yes, she won a Democratic primary, but her philosophies, her principles, her thoughts are not the thoughts of the Democratic Party. And the problem with this whole concept of democratic socialism is that it is creating infighting with the Democratic Party. And good Democrats, people have served communities well all over the country, are now under attack by people who call themselves democratic socialists. So it's bad for the Democratic Party, but it's also bad for the country. We've seen the extremes of the far right and how bad that has been for the country. It's the same thing with the extremes of the far left. That will be bad for the country as well.
All right. And I'm going to go back to the previous topic we talked about as far as just revitalizing small businesses on the east side. This extends far beyond your time in office and far beyond the office of the mayor. But what would you say are the effects of redlining and racially restrictive covenants? How, to your knowledge, has that affected the east side business in Buffalo? And how does that continue to affect us today, even though those are basically illegal, but still have effects?
So, decades and decades and decades old, redlining began in this country before I was even born. So it still has effect today because it has hurt the ability of people of color to build wealth in the same ways that our white brothers and sisters have been able to build wealth in this country. It kept housing values down in certain areas of communities, particularly in communities of color. I have focused on trying to reverse some of these trends, and by cutting taxes, cutting the tax rate, making Buffalo more affordable for people of color, for African Americans, Latinos, and all people, we have seen property values go up in every single section of the city. So now, even if you are a homeowner on the east side of Buffalo, east side homeowners have seen their property values double, triple, and quadruple, which is why people in other communities now want to buy on the east side and want to live on the east side because property values have gone up and have risen all across the city of Buffalo. So people who live on the east side need to know that their properties are very valuable. They have gone up significantly, and that's how wealth is built in this country. People call home ownership the American dream. It's usually the largest investment that any person living in our country will make, and the wealth from a home gets passed down through families, and we've been able to help improve that circumstance for East Side residents.
All right. And talking about just getting better on the East Side and the plenty of opportunities offered to our citizens, let's talk about the school system briefly. Only 25% of students are proficient in language and math skills. What would you say is the source of that, and what has your administration done to alleviate that in the...
So first of all, it's important to note that the mayor of the city of Buffalo has no management authority over the Buffalo Public Schools, has no policy authority over the Buffalo Public Schools. It is a legally separate system in terms of management. Now, what I have done is numerous. We are spending the most money in the history of our city on youth employment and internship, training youth, preparing youth for the future. We've invested in a program called Say Yes to Education that provides academic supports to children and their families so that they can increase their academic proficiency. We've seen graduation rates increase in the Buffalo Public Schools, and Say Yes to Buffalo also provides every child that graduates from a Buffalo public school or a Buffalo charter school with a scholarship to go to the college of their choice. Under me, the city has invested very heavily in the Say Yes to Education program, both the academic support portion of it and the college scholarship portion of it. And one of the things that is the great equalizer in our country is education. And when people can get a good education, they can change their life circumstances and lift themselves out of poverty. Also this year, partnering with the Buffalo Public Schools, I proposed a unique initiative that we call Earn to Learn, where we provided resources for young people to go to summer school and get academically caught up from the pandemic learning loss so that they would get back on track at grade level, and in some cases, the case of high school seniors that would not have graduated without this opportunity, they were able to graduate and go on to career or college, and the city paid those students who went to summer school like they were working a summer job in the city of Buffalo.
So you were supposed to be doing a town hall at Buffalo State College, but that was canceled because India Walton didn't sign up. What do you think about that?
Well, you know, I always love talking to college students, young people. Anytime I'm invited to come and speak to young people, younger people, young people in college and high school and elementary school, I do it. I speak to young people quite frequently. In fact, I am even a professor at Buffalo State College teaching a master's course every semester for younger people that are working on their masters at Buffalo State. Now in those classes, most of the students are getting their masters, but some are also getting their bachelors, and that has been a very enriching experience for me. I'm considered a professor of practice. That means I have practical experience in budgeting, in the state budget, in political science, in political theory, and so it is sad that that forum, that town hall had to be canceled, but I was prepared to participate.
All right, and one last question for today. How do you explain underperforming in the primary that led to India Walton winning the primary?
So, you know, we don't even go back to that. I think that all things happen for a reason, and I think the reason is to bring people together. is to energize the voters throughout the city of Buffalo to recognize that this election is about the future of our community. We've made great progress as a city, and the best is yet to come from the Brown administration and from me serving as mayor. And what we're seeing now is people in every section of the city coming together, working on our campaign, volunteering on our campaign. And so I think what the message is the victory will be greater. It will be nationally recognized. So I'm pleased with where we are and all the support that we're getting.
So with that, like, what does your campaign have to offer? And this is sort of a two-part question. What does your campaign have to offer this time? And what has your 16-year tenure as mayor of Buffalo contributed to the welfare and well-being of Buffalo citizens?
So we have significant experience to offer. Not only have I been mayor for 4 terms, before that I was a member of the New York State Senate for 3 terms, and before that a member of the Buffalo City Council for 3 terms. So I bring significant experience to the position, ideas for the future, creativity, and management experience. Now, what we've been able to accomplish, we've cut taxes to the lowest level in 30 years in the city of Buffalo. We're very pleased by that. We're spending the most money in the history of the city on youth employment. We have invested millions of dollars in parks and community centers and playgrounds in the city of Buffalo. We created a program to replace old lead lines in homes in the city. There has been over $8 billion of economic development since I've been mayor, creating thousands of jobs for the residents of our community. Another thing that I'm probably among the most proud of is we've hired the most diverse workforce in the history of the city of Buffalo. More people of color, more women, more new Americans, and more women in management positions than ever before in the history of our city. And in the 2020 census, for the first time in 70 years, the population of the city of Buffalo has grown. Now, going forward, we want to accelerate the pace of building affordable housing. I've built over 2,200 units of affordable housing during my time as mayor. There is another 1,000 plus units of affordable housing in production. We've set a goal of 40% permanent affordability of housing in our city. We're almost at 25% now. So we want to build more affordable housing so that there's clean, safe, affordable housing in our city. We want to have a system of rapidly upskilling residents of our community. We will be selecting some of the best training programs in the region and the nation, where people can get 6 months of training, a year of training, 2 years of training, and go from training to family sustaining living wage jobs, so that we will lift people out of poverty. People will be earning more money in our city, and we'll have higher employment in the city of Buffalo. Those are some of my plans for the future, and I am very excited to move Buffalo forward and continue the progress that we've been seeing.
And with that, thank you very much. It was an honor sitting down with you today, and good luck on the election.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Tanya Gamble, representing WBNY, and I'm here with Bruce Briskey, political commentator and professor at Buffalo State College. Briskey, nice to be here with you.
Nice to be here with you.
Can you provide some context or perspectives on the upcoming mayoral election?
This election is very unique. It's going to be interesting. We've got, instead of a Democrat running against a Republican, we've got 2 Democrats. And interestingly enough, the incumbent, who is probably most recognized of the 2, Byron Brown, the current mayor, he is in for quite a battle here. Because quite frankly, during the primary, and the reason he lost the primary is he really didn't put up much of a campaign. He thought he had it in the bag, and now he's paying the consequences. So what's going to happen in this race is that if people want to vote for him, he needs to have people do a write-in vote, and it's very rare for a candidate to win a write-in vote.
What do you think his chances are?
At this point, 50-50, and here's why. There's 2 things that he's got going for him. One is that he's the incumbent, and that means, and he's been around a long time. And so what happens then is he's recognizable. And with Mayor Brown, either you like him or you don't like him, okay? And the other thing is that there are some people who won't vote for India Walton because they perceive her, the bad word socialist, right? And so, there's going to be a lot of people who just simply won't vote for her because of that. And the other thing she has going against her is that she's not a recognizable face. In fact, I'm really into politics. And, 2 years ago, if you would have told me, India Walton, I had no idea who she would have been. But now she's getting more media coverage and more attention. And, she turned out the vote in the primary. And that's why, she's right in the middle of this race. Especially it's important for us locally, especially if you live in the city of Buffalo, all of Western New York, but it's also important nationally. And here's why. People like the Democratic Party on the national level is really split right now. So you got people like Joe Biden, who is kind of moderate, he's a little bit more conservative. But you got people like Bernie Sanders and AOC, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, who are way more liberal, and who actually call themselves Democratic Socialists. And so those 2 parts of the party, those 2 factions are kind of going at each other. Now, as far as this race, Brown would be siding more with the conservative types or the moderate, and India Walton would be very liberal. She's called herself a Democratic Socialist. That word scares people away. But so that's why it's so important on the national level. If India Walton wins this, that means that at the national level, the Democratic Party is taking another step to the left, much more liberal than what they are now, or like the person who's in the White House right now. So that's why this is kind of important, and that's how AOC got elected. She took this really liberal stance, and she's gonna, she came to town to support India Walton, and basically she's gonna kind of talk about being a little bit more liberal and a little bit more socialist than Byron Brown.
Thank you for listening to our second episode of Let's Talk Buffalo, a student-run program with WBNY 91.3 SUNY Buffalo State. Tune in to our next episode in November.